Hey, this is Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses, and you're watching GNR Central. Yeah!
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to GNR Central. And we've had a lot of anniversaries this month, and I talked a bit about Chinese democracy. I'm going to be talking about the spaghetti incident soon. But today I want to talk about an album that's often overlooked when it comes to November, and that is Guns N' Roses Live Era. So this year marks the 19th anniversary of the record. It's kind of hard to believe next year's going to be the 20th anniversary of Live Era. So it came out the same day as the spaghetti incident did, as well as Chinese democracy. So it came out November 23rd, 1999. And, I think as a fan, I didn't discover Guns N' Roses till later on, like around 2007. But when I first heard that Guns N' Roses had a live album, I was like so excited. I couldn't believe it because it was a band that I loved to watch YouTube clips of. And I'm like, that's amazing. I got to go listen to this live record. And I got to say, I think Live Era is kind of an afterthought to a lot of fans. I haven't heard a lot of fans, highlight Live Era as one of their favorite releases from the band. But let's talk about the good regarding the album. Now, the track listing isn't what you would necessarily expect. There's a lot of the bigger hits there, like It's So Easy, Welcome to the Jungle, of course, Sweet Child of Mine's there, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Paradise City. But some of the songs that Guns N' Roses played live quite frequently, like Civil War and Live and Let Die, are nowhere to be found on this record, and that's what disappointed me a bit. But instead, they've included some songs that the band didn't play a whole lot of live, but sound pretty good on the record. And the first one that comes to mind is Dustin Bones. So Live Era split up into 2 discs. There's 11 songs on each disc, and it basically follows the same set list that Guns N' Roses played a lot of nights on the Use Your Illusion tour. And then, of course, you've got some songs that they didn't really play very often. So disc 1 features some deeper cuts like Dustin Bones' 5th on the album. And then you've also got My Michelle, which Guns didn't play a whole lot of on the Use Your Illusion tour. It's played a lot more during the Appetite tour. You're Crazy wasn't played a whole lot on the Use Your Illusion tour, except for the 93 leg on the Skin and Bones. They also have the song that Axl would play on the piano a lot before November Rain, the Black Sabbath cover, It's All Right. And then disc 2 starts out with Out to Get Me, which Guns barely played on the Use Your Illusion tour, but was played quite frequently on the Appetite tour. They've got Pretty Tied Up, which wasn't played a whole lot live, which is honestly one of the better songs off of Live Era in my opinion. And then they've got Move to the City from Live Like a Suicide, which was played a handful of times, but it wasn't performed live very often. And then the rest of the songs are what you would expect from a Guns N' Roses show. Now, one of the cool things about Live Era is that if you had the Japanese version or you got the vinyl version of Live Era, you get a rare live performance of Coma, which is a song that was only played live about 4 times during the Use Your Illusion tour, and it's a fantastic version. Now, one of the things that I found disappointing with the album is that they don't tell you where these performances took place. So, contrary to a lot of other live records you've probably heard, they're usually taken from one concert and you listen to the whole concert from start to finish. Live Era doesn't work like that. Live Era is got performances from a bunch of different shows, but the track listing follows that of a Guns N' Roses show. So a lot of fans have painstakingly worked to basically stitch together different bootlegs, comparing the bootlegs to what's on the album, and they've figured out where a lot of these performances have been taken from. So you guys can go to the Wikipedia page and look at it. A majority of the performances, as you would expect, were taken from the Use Your Illusion tour. There's a handful of performances that were taken from 1988, and it's not that I have an issue with it. It's just a shame that they didn't list it and the fans had to go do this. In some respects, Live Era almost feels like an afterthought to the band. I got the sense that, okay, the band owed the label a record, and this was just another record as part of their contract. I feel like they could have done so much more with providing more artwork, even providing some live performances as like a standalone DVD or like a separate DVD that would come with the album. But you don't find any of that as part of this record. Now, the one thing I will say that's great, the fact that they did alternate which shows they took these performances from, lends itself to some pretty good versions on the album. So Knocking on Heaven's Door, the version that's on the record, was taken from the Freddie Mercury tribute show, which is honestly probably my favorite performance that I've seen of Heaven's Door before. And that had been previously released on the Heaven's Door single back in 1992. The other thing you guys may notice is that the versions of Estranged, Don't Cry, November Rain, Pretty Tied Up, You Could Be Mine, and Move to the City are all taken from the 1992 Tokyo show, the same one that the band released on video back in 1992. And then the live audio version of Yesterday's was the version that the band played in Las Vegas that also showed up on the 1992 American Music Awards as well. Now, one of my biggest complaints, and this is probably a complaint that a lot of people have had, is that the vocals sound like they've been re-recorded on a lot of these versions. So one of my favorite parts of watching GNR live on YouTube, like seeing the YouTube clips from back in the day, is that Axl sounded so great. And then they had to go back and tamper with that. But I did remember reading an interview that Matt Sorum gave where they had trouble using the audio from those recordings. I guess they weren't in a state that they could properly put them on an album. So maybe that's why they had to re-record them. But at least if you were a fan and you wondered what Axl sounded like in 1999, this is a glimpse of the state of his voice, apart from the song "Oh My God." So you got a sense of which songs sound like they've been re-recorded. And the songs that definitely come to mind that have been re-recorded for me are "November Rain," which sound a lot more cleaner. So by re-recording the vocals, you lose some of that rasp, but the vocals of Axl seem a lot cleaner. "My Michelle" is another one that comes to mind. And then the one that really stands out for me is "Rocket Queen" and "You Could Be Mine." Those ones in particular. But that's not to say that everything is bad off the record. In fact, I have some of these on my iPod, and I like the live versions better than what's on the record. So some of the ones that stand out are "It's So Easy." I love the live version that's on this. That's from Paris, 1992. I like it because it's a bit faster. It seems like it's played a bit quicker than what's on Appetite, and I actually like it better than the live version they released from the '87 Marquee show as part of the Appetite reissue. The other one that I love a lot too is "Dustin Bones" because it's an Izzy song. I think it's a shame they didn't include 14 Years on this box set as well. And then of course the other one that I do like too is "Patience." They blend in two shows apparently, so the beginning is taken from like a 92 show, and then the outro is taken from like a 93 show. At least that's what some fans claim. The other one that stands out for me is "Pretty Tied Up." That one's on disc 2. And I like their live version of "Pretty Tied Up" way more than what was on way more than what was on "Use Your Illusion," sorry. And then, of course, the other ones that I like a lot are "Heaven's Door," which I was so happy they included the Freddie Mercury tribute. And this may shock a lot of people, but I love the live version of "Estranged." Now, the guitar solo, I feel like it loses some of its energy, the first guitar solo, but Axl's vocals on "Estranged" sound really great. And the other thing that I do like about the record is that you can hear some of the chatter in between songs. Like at the end of "Brownstone," you can hear Axl telling the crowd to back up because they're getting a little too antsy and people are getting trampled. I wish there was a bit more of that in this record, but at least we got a live album from Guns N' Roses. It's not exactly what I would have wanted. I wish there was no re-recording or tampering with the recordings, and I wish the band would have put a little more effort into it by releasing some more artwork, possibly putting out some like a DVD or CD of like the actual video performances where these songs were taken from, and releasing more artwork as well. That would have been really cool. But another thing you guys may not know is that when it came time to work on the record, Axl, Slash, and Duff worked on the record together, but they weren't in the same room at the same time. So Slash and Duff would come in at their times and work on the record, and then Axl would come in at a different time when those guys weren't in the studio. In fact, a lot of the track listing was done through managers and intermediaries without having to do stuff face to face. And Del James, I think it was his job to go through all of these live recordings and pick out really the best ones. The other thing you guys may not know is that even though Matt Sorum and Gilby Clarke are featured pretty prominently on this record, if you look at the credits, they're not credited as band members, but as additional musicians. So original drummer Steven Adler, who only plays on 3 tracks on the record, and Izzy Stradlin, who plays only on 6, are credited as main band members in the credits. So that's just some interesting trivia you guys may not know about the album. But that's my thoughts on Live Era. It's hard to believe it's going to be 20 years since it's been released next year in 2019. And I guess the last thing I'll leave you guys with is that even though the album sold fairly poorly compared to other Guns N' Roses releases, largely because they didn't really promote the record at all, the album was still certified gold by the RIAA. So it sold about 500,000 copies, and worldwide it's almost sold about 3 million copies. It's just short. It's about 2.73 million copies worldwide as of March 2018. So that does it for my look back at Live Era. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on the record. Just put your comments down below. Do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree? Is this something that you guys listen to a lot, or was it something you listened to originally and then were a little disappointed with? Or is it an album you love a lot? Let me know, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe for all things related to Guns N' Roses. And go check us out on gnrcentral.com for the latest and greatest Guns N' Roses news. Take care and have yourself a good weekend.